Kehlani just recently dropped an album and it's genius. But why is it genius? In this video, I'm going to show you all the techniques used in this album, from blending those beautiful guitar riffs to bringing back the elements of that 90s R&B sound. And when you pair them together, it makes something like this. What I think gives this album such good production is the simplicity, the layering of sounds, and the merging of different eras of R&B. And we can actually hear this when listening to the song I Need You. How do we achieve this album's sound? First, the most important thing is chords. Let's listen to Sweet Nothing. Sweet nothings, sweet nothings. You can hear that piano top line, which is over chords, and it's actually repetitive but really catchy. So to replicate this, I started with some chords with the piano, which were just simple major and minor chords, and I just inverted this F major to give it a little different bass tone. And this paired nicely because I made it a 16-bar loop and used these ending chords to create that tension, and you can hear that in all of Kehlani's production. And this just creates suspense and resolves beautifully. Then if you listen to You Got It, I'm never not, always the one, always in front. The top line, which you will see in a minute, is paired beautifully with some like Indian guitar. So I added this top line, which is really catchy and just kind of follows those chords. Then for that Indian guitar, I used a Triton VST, which replicates that 90s sound, and I just followed along with the melody of the top line piano. And making sure it's not on the grid really makes it feel raw. And I'll show you later how you can use this with your drums to make them sound so much better. Pairing the flute with an Indian string was vital. So again, using the Triton and just created a similar pattern to the Indian string. Again, not wanting to add too much of a complex melody, as this would distract the singer like Kehlani. When layering multiple different instruments, it's just best to keep the bass simple. So I did this and add these little riffs at the end, which just match the chords. And this kind of just freshens up the beat, and it will work perfectly later, as you see with the percussion. Then I just ran this bass through microshift and some distortion. Before we move on, I want to bring today's sponsor, DistroKid. If you're like me, sending out samples and collaborating with others, that's where DistroKid come in. You can add all your collaborators, set the exact amount of splits, and everybody gets paid. You can upload your music to all streaming platforms, and you keep 100% of all your earnings. Hit the link down below and grab 7% off your first year subscription. Then this moves me on to the next part of the beat, which gives it so much depth and R&B sexiness. And that's starting with the strum guitar chords, which I just ran through a verb, flange, and delay. Then just layer a new recording of the same chords, but this time running through a wah pedal and the same chain. And just like the piano melody being catchy, I recorded in some guitar plucks that give that emotion and another sense of rhythm to the beat. Then Kehlani likes to use different tones of guitars, so I added in this fuzz lead and I ran it through a decapitator to give it that harsh texture. Then finally, to glue all the guitars together, adding riffs is what gives melody and that soul to the beat. Then to fit in that 90s R&B, I use this JV 1080, which fits perfectly. So I did that using the same chords as the piano, but I felt like something was missing. So I found these keys on Splice and noticed this little texture in the background. Let's listen to the keys on your own and you'll understand. Adding a sine lead is crucial and you hear it all over her production. So again, I used this Triton and set it to 2 semitones so I could use the pitch wheel, and made pitch wheel automation for the certain sustain notes. And another way this is done, and you can hear it on this part of I Need You. I'm wrapped up in my shit. Is that like downfalling synth slide? I just made this catchy descending feel with this riff. Then lastly, moving on to the drums, she likes to keep these very simple. So I started with this hi-hat loop and shakers, and I layered these with some real addictive drums and more hi-hats which I actually shifted out of time. Then I just added this drum fill that I said fits perfectly with that transition of the sine lead. Then lastly, just added a kick and some rims to bring the drums together and bring them to life. I ran them through this little radiator, EQ and reverb. Let's listen solo and listen to them before and after. Then when we play it all together, it sounds like this.